Hey everyone, welcome back. The book we're doing today is The Savior's Champion by Jenna Moreci. As always, I'm joined by my co-host.
Maria. Hi, guys.
And a little background on this book. The author is actually a YouTuber, and this book was self-published by her 2 or 3 years ago now. I'm not quite sure which. And I read the book originally when it came out. And the thing is that Jenna Moreci, as a person and a YouTuber, she does a lot of giving out writing advice. Like 10 tropes I hate, 10 tropes that are overused, punch up your plot with these different tips. And I think it was really good of her to write this book to show a how not to write a book manual. Because this book is not good. And I understand most of you listening to this probably liked it, and that's okay. It's okay to have bad taste. This is the one book I read the entire year that I read it, because I just didn't read a lot back then, and I read it specifically to hate read it. I loved hating this book so much. You haven't watched any of Jenna Moreci's videos,
I've
right?
watched not a single thing. I didn't know who she was. By reading and looking up some stuff about this book, I've seen now photos of her, and I specifically did not watch any of her videos once I realized, because I didn't want to be tainted. And by that, I mean, I didn't want to, I was reading reviews of people being like, listen, I like Jenna's videos. She's great. But this book is, someone made the comment that you can be really good at analyzing something and knowing about it, but that doesn't mean you can do it. So, a lot of movie critics probably can't make an actual movie or have never made an actual movie, but they still have the ability to see things that are problematic or point out when it's good or not.
Giving advice is not necessarily the same as being able to follow your own advice.
Exactly. Someone was making a comment they said imagine trying to write something your favorite author wrote. It's a good thing, but can you replicate it? Just because you can tell something is good or bad doesn't mean you can do it. And this was said with kindness towards Moreci,
I think it is.
They were saying this person obviously thought her videos were still really valid. They enjoyed them. I hear a lot about her quirky personality.
So I actually watched her videos for a little while. I followed her, but back when this book came out, which is one of the reasons I actually read it when it came out. And she is really likable. She's really funny. She does give okay advice. I find a lot of her advice to be very basic, don't do this very basic thing. And we'll get a little into how that plays into the book, I think, because it's somewhat relevant in terms of the simplicity of ideas. Again, she is a lovely person. She is a lovely YouTuber. None of this is said with hate to her, but I am going to savage this book. And it's going to make the tournament in the book look tame.
I did not like this book. I do not plan to savage it. I will probably, as I usually do, take the role of moderator. Though again, I didn't like this book. I have lots of problems, and I will discuss my problems, but in a way that comes across as more amicable and friendly than Will.
Okay, let's go ahead and start though with the basic premise. The basic premise of this book is it's basically The Bachelorette, but with murder crossed with Survivor crossed with Battle Royale. In this kind of Greek-esque setting that is not very well known.
It is. I'm sorry, guys. I've got a lot of feelings about this. I understood that there were names that were Greek and Greek influences in this, but it wasn't until I was reading reviews where they were set in a world inspired by ancient Greece. And I was like, say what? I was picturing classic fantasy kind of Renaissance.
This is a good opportunity to talk about how bad the author is at world building and setting.
We'll get there later. We'll talk about it. Continue with the thing. Right. But the point is, I didn't see it. I didn't see nothing.
It takes place in a kingdom called Thesson, which has a queen called a savior who has magic, who turned a desert into a lush place where that people can survive. And the way they pick her husband is through what's called the
Sovereigns Tournament.
The Sovereigns Tournament, where a bunch of men have to fight each other until only one survives, and then he becomes the regent and marries her. And in this case, the book starts out with the previous savior getting killed. She's murdered in the streets. And so nobody's seen the new savior for 20 years, but now it's time to pick a new regent.
First off, let me say, guys, that at this point in the story, it's been hundreds of years of peace. Nobody even remembers pre-savior times. This place was a desert. There was war. Shit was bad. Trade was bad, savior pops up and through her holy light transforms the land.
Oh yeah, she does an Edward Cullen where she sparkles
and so
in the
when
light.
in sunlight she goes bling bling. And so nobody remembers the before times, which, and definitely like a tournament where you pick who marries your queen, which would lead to someone who needed to be really strong to win, makes sense for society pre-savior, but does not make sense for society 300, 400 years into saviordom. Because at this point, you're peaceful, you have no need for muscle. So the fact that this is still how they pick who their like male regent is fucking bizarre.
First of all, I always thought that an interesting way to do it would have been if there were two husbands, one that was like the real husband who's picked by the noble families, and then a sovereign who was like picked by the arena, but like is not treated as real, because that to me seems like it makes more sense in terms of how these things would develop. But we need to talk about the main character and how little sense he makes for the background. Our main character is called Tobias, and this is maybe why Maria did not realize that this is supposed to take place in a sword and sandal Greek type atmosphere. Also, the main female character is called Leila. Both extremely Greek names. Am I right, my Greek friend?
Greek. I know so many Leilas and the Tobiases. Let me tell you about those Greek ass Tobiases. Forget the Banayotis and the Nicholases, and like we didn't even have an Achilles, like nothing. We got Tobias. And there's also a character named Enzo, and then a character named Milo. Milo?
Yes, those classically Greek names. And it hurts because the setting is so unclear in terms of details. Like, the most you really get is that, like, the main character wears, she literally calls them harem pants, which makes no sense in a setting where they would just be called pants. But also, by the way, I don't think you caught this, but they actually worship a god in this setting. A god, one. And you're supposed to tell because at one point, the main character's mother says, "Oh my god."
No, there's multiple points where people say...
Oh, well, okay. This is another wonderful thing, is that she seems to decided to take, when you're writing a book, you have inspirations. And in terms of the language and the dialogue, some people are like, I want something Tarantino-esque, something Shakespearean, something lyrical. She went, that series Spartacus, Blood and Sand, how they mangled grammar every 3 seconds? That's what I want. So people both say, guys, okay, and then apologies.
All the time.
All the fucking time. And we're too early in the YouTube video to say this, but whatever, I'm going to say it.
We're doing so bad. I'm so sorry, guys. We're doing such a bad job.
We haven't even gone to the
I want you to know, guys, we're trying really hard to like have structure to these videos, but man, so many feels we cannot just get through.
What's funny is I didn't hate this as much as I hated Iron Widow. Like, I do think that book is genuinely problematic and bad, but there's so many things she does poorly in this book that, like, you can't not talk about.
This book made William hate boobs. We'll explain that later. But I'm just leaving that here.
They don't actually understand the context of that, and I don't want to be canceled, so I'll just say that all boobs are beautiful. And I think they're all valid, and all women have good. All right, main character is called Tobias. He used to be a painter, but his sister got paralyzed from the waist down. He now works in the fields.
When their dad died.
Their dad died, and it sounds a lot like in a car accident, but I don't think it was one.
A cart. A cart accident.
Was it really?
I'm pretty sure it was a cart accident.
I was really like, this is an odd thing for... Okay. And the thing about Tobias is that he doesn't believe in any of this savior crap. He looks at the tournament and he's like, what kind of an idiot would go and risk their life to be king? Blah, blah, blah. I don't care about the savior.
For a 1 in 20 shot.
For a 1 in 20 shot, how foolish of them. Here's why this makes no fucking sense at all. There is no reason that in that world, little boys and men wouldn't aspire to be champions of the Sovereign's Tournament from day one. In ancient Greece, little boys wanted to grow up to be heroes, in the Iliad, for example. This is the Iliad where meets the Bachelorette. It's the Super Bowl. It's whatever hockey and the other ones. I don't play sports. I don't even really follow sports. Whatever those are, this is the single biggest way to prove your manhood and get a physical, tangible thing out of it. He should know the stories of every champion for the last 200 years, not even just champions, the other people in there. There should be stories in their
The
culture.
tournaments.
In the same way that the Iliad is not actually about the fall of Ilium, it's basically just a side story about two characters in there. There should be side stories, great tales about contestants who went in and had their own stories. That should be what's happening. And instead, he's just like, I got dropped in from another world where I don't care about any of this stuff. And I'm just going to treat it like it's dumb.
It would be one thing if he was a coward. Because I thought it would have been interesting if he didn't want to join because, like, he thought it was, like, he had the hero, like, not even necessarily hero worship, but he understood that it was a thing, but that he was inherently scared and that his growth as a character would be overcoming that fear and then, like, moving past it. And I thought that would be interesting because like, he's like, oh, who would enter that dumb tournament? Why would you risk your life? And number one, to be one of the 20 guys chosen is really slim because there was hundreds of guys. He goes to line up and it's all day. It's wrapped around.
From other countries they come too because it's like a way of, showing their country's spirit and stuff.
Going into the line, I can imagine it being just as like a thing, a rite of passage. We signed up. We didn't get chosen, but we signed up for the Sovereigns. Oh my God, what happened? Sovereigns tournament. But he's really, and Tobias goes through some character changes personality wise, and he starts it as a tired piece of toast, a grumpy, tired piece of toast. And his friend is like, ooh, and now granted, his friend Milo is dumb. He's just dumb. But
yes, he has a friend called Milo who's like, we should go enter the tournament. Can you imagine winning? And he's like, why would you want to win for a woman you don't even know? That is going to become a thing, by the way. If you know how, like, in middle school you learned that you should know people like by their personalities and not their stations. Yeah, this book feels very strongly about that middle school concept. But go on.
But yeah, so like he's super negative. And again, I think if he was a coward or if like he was already in love with someone, so the idea of winning the savior had no appeal, or like they don't play enough with his family, like his family really needs him. But again, he ends up joining it because of his family. His sister, like we said, is a cripple. His mother doesn't work. She just takes care of the sister. Yeah. And literally, the problem is you go into this book knowing he's going to join the tournament. So the first 3 very boring and dull chapters where he's like, I'm working in the fields. I'm so tired. I'm tired. And then he comes home and he's like, oh, my sister, she is so sick and in pain. And then, who would join this dumb Sovereigns tournament? It's so, you know he's gonna join.
Also, you get a cash reward to your family just for joining. So we're like, yeah, obviously this is what's going to happen in this novel. Why are we faffing about for 3 chapters where it's just him like...
I'm not gonna join.
Okay, the thing about this, and this is going to become a theme, is that Tobias does not feel like a real person who is really from that world. And this is going to become worse and worse as the book goes on. He is basically the writer's fantasy boyfriend. Like, let's be real. That's what he is, clearly. So he decides, all right, for the money, I'm going to enter the Sovereigns tournament and I can give the money to my family. And he goes and he actually gets picked, him and his friend Milo, right? Okay.
I hate it. Why did those 2 get picked? So they have categories in this. Like, guys, I don't know how much to explain how much I hate the fact that Milo and him get picked. It makes no fucking sense. There's nothing unique about these 2 men. So they have hundreds of people.
Okay.
Hundreds of people from all over the world coming to apply to be in this tournament. And you get to see Tobias's experience getting in, and they measure his dick. They look at it, they make him get naked, and then they're quizzing him about stuff, and they're like, what do you do? And he's like, well, I'm an artist. And they're like, you're an artist? Do you do that? And he was like, well, no, I labor in the fields. And they were like, well, are you a laborer or are you an artist? And this guy, who at this point, we have no idea if he's a good artist. We have no idea. The people in the competition have no idea if he's a good artist or anything. And he was like, yeah, no, I'm an artist. Now he does.
No. You forgot the best line of this, which is a man from that time period, again, ancient Greece, let's say, is like, I actually don't think people can be defined by one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's how people in ancient Greece thought about themselves and their roles in society and their sense of identity and personhood. This book is so dumb.
It's so bad. But anyway, so like again, Tobias is nothing special. It's not that he's super handsome. And again, during this competition phase when they're just looking at their applicants, because they give you names as a competitor, and his ends up being a laurel.
A title.
And his ends up being the artist. At no point has anyone seen his art. He could have been a shit-ass fucking artist. And nobody has seen it. And they're like, yes. And his friend Milo, who also, again, number one, Milo is barely described. I have no idea what he looks like. But what does Milo do? Because you're put into several categories. There's 4. You are a savant, the nobles, the beasts. What are the farmers called?
Stalwarts.
The stalwarts. The stalwarts are the working class motherfuckers. Milo and Tobias are sorted into the savants, which are the intellectual and artisty people. And not number one, Milo's laurel is the benevolent. You're like, what the number one? What does that have to do with intelligence or like music? Like he doesn't like. If they would have been like, he's a fantastic lute player, I would have been like,
it's not like he was an apprentice with Tobias somewhere and they were like both artists, or that's how he knows Milo. Milo's just a childhood friend.
He does nothing, guys. Like he literally he's nice.
And the thing is, he's not actually that nice either. So I don't really. Okay, so this is where we need to talk about the sequel to this book. Is not the next book chronologically. It's the same story told from the viewpoint of the main female character that we'll talk about in a little bit. So a lot of this book only really makes sense if you understand that it's going to be explained later. Like the reason that Tobias gets in, if you read between the lines, is because of something that one of the characters in that book does that we don't know about in this book until like really late.
But why did Milo get picked? Again,
no, that's the part I really don't get.
Like, you better be the best of whatever your laurel is. Like, if you're an artist, you better be the best fucking artist that applied. If you're, like, there's a...
Okay, but here's the thing. And this is where we're going to run into a problem, which is that this is a killing competition. There's like 2 of the things they have to do are like kind of you have to be a little bit smart, but most of them are like, hey, can you kill somebody else? So why the fuck are the artists there? Why are the nobles there? Why isn't this just all the beasts? And this gets worse because as soon as they get into the competition, they go into these 20 men, right? They go into the maze.
It's not a maze. It's a tunnel.
I think it's a callback to like the Minotaur, but...
It is, but then make it a fucking labyrinth.
Yeah, that would have been much cooler. Okay, they get in there, these 12 men, they're walking along. The beasts, which again are like these really huge, tough, violent guys, they murder 2 or 3 of the people just right out of the gate because they annoyed them.
Including Milo.
Which, by the way, I think from a writer perspective is a really dumb thing to do because then we're like, okay, why is Tobias not... We can't feel Tobias's grief, like it's too early for us to identify with his grief. So it just kind of creates a gap between us and him as a character. But I mean, there's also the fact that the author can't write complex emotions more than boobs. And you are my sanctuary.
She should have just embraced a romance novel.
It's not even a good romance novel, is the thing.
But again, like, work on your craft. But, like, you spend a lot of time on one thing. Continue.
Right, so the beasts straight up murder 2 or 3 of the people, and it is revealed that actually this is totally legal in the game. It's totally legal to do this. They can just murder each other at any time. Which begs the question, again, what the fuck are the savants doing there? And the other question is, why don't they just all kill each other from the beginning? If there's only one of them, that's the person that gets to be a sovereign.
That's it.
That's it. Like, there's no reason to keep any of the other of them alive.
At any point.
It's so much dumber when you actually describe it.
It's so bad. It's so bad. But yeah, that was one of my first thoughts, is once you realize that kills made not in actual challenges are perfectly legal, I don't know why they didn't just kill everyone immediately.
It's really never explained. Or if it is, because I'm sure there's some nerd who's like, well, on page 55 of whatever, you and I are adults, right, Maria?
Yeah.
If we didn't pick it up, and I didn't pick it up from 2 readings, the author is failing at their job of explaining why. I see this criticism a lot. They're like, well, the author explained it here. No, if I can't remember it as an adult, then the author did not do a good job of explaining it.
So, they enter the tunnels.
Milo gets crushed. Bam.
There's three particular characters that are set out to be extra gruesome, two of which are beasts, and one of which is actually a stalwart. He's called the Shepherd. And then there's the dragon and the...
It does not matter. A lot of them are the same.
Antaeus. I can't remember what his laurel was, but anyway. And at the start of the tournament, the sovereign has to give his blessing to three people. And everybody's like, ooh, who's he gonna do? And he picks like...
The sovereign, by the way, is the husband of the savior who was killed 20 years ago. He's called Brontes. He has one eye because, well, I mean, good people always have one eye.
He is also the father of the current savior. So he picks two of the beasts and then this stalwart shepherd guy. Immediately, the dragon, I think it is, just kills a character, mashes the funny guy. Yeah, one of the savants was the humor, or like the jester. He was just funny guy. What the fuck? Like, Moreci, did you only think there was like an artist and an intellectual? The savants are, and this is it, guys. The intellectual, the artist, which those are things that I would say could be savants. The jester.
Right.
And the benevolent. Like, having a sense of humor is not a talent. Like, at least not in a savant-like way.
It's not like he's like a great play actor or playwright or something like that, or from a culture where being a jester is like a big thing in the royal court.
Or in a world where stand-up comedy is respected. Because it is not. If we're, again...
This would be such a better series if Mulaney was in it.
It would be great. There's a horse loose in the hospital. Anyway. So, he blesses these other dudes. The jester's killed immediately. This other dude is killed pretty quick. And then there's like this pass that you have to go in. It says, don't, stop. Don't go. And Milo's like, gee, I wish something would happen. And the shepherd's just like, okay, and just throws him across. And then he gets smushed. Indiana Jones style, you tripped the trap. And now it's smushed you to death. And it sucks. And Tobias is really scarred by it. But again...
Oh, no. You forgot this part. He gets really mad and tries to fight Kaleo, the shepherd, right? And then Kaleo beats him up and doesn't kill him for some reason. Kaleo's going to become a thing because A, Jenna Moreci is way too fond of him as a villain. And B...
is incredibly problematic.
You noticed that too, that the somewhat... queer-coded character is sadistically violent. That's interesting.
Not just somewhat, explicitly.
And explicitly has a thing for Tobias. That's interesting. I didn't think that was at all problematic.
We'll get there. Don't worry.
Well,
guys.
I mean, there's also a lesbian in here, though. So, I mean, obviously the two.
And there are other gay characters who aren't violent sociopaths. But the bi guy, very problematic. We'll get there, guys. Anyway, so Kaleo kills Milo. Tobias, super sad. And when they get to the sanctuary, which is the tent area.
Right. Okay, so let me ask you something, Maria, because I want your opinion on this.
Okay, I'll give it.
Let's say you hear that me and 20 other buff dudes have just come in from a tunnel, and you know what? 2 of us have died, and a lot of us are kind of splattered with blood. And then I'm looking really like, oh, I'm sad, my friend died. And I sit down, and you come up to me, and what's your first instinct? Do you think, hey, he murdered those 2 other men? Would that be your instinct?
No, that would not be my instinct. So
oh, interesting.
We get introduced to a character who we're going to see a lot of, guys, and I'm sure you'll never guess where this is going. So there's some female characters, one of which is this lady handing out food stuff, and Tobias is really upset, and he's, like Will said, beat up. He's got black eyes, really bruised. Like, he looks like a sack of shit. And he's, like, sitting in a corner by himself, slumped over. And this healer lady comes up to him and is like, you're what's wrong with this tournament. You're just going around and killing people. And how dare you? You would do this all for the savior. You're a sack of shit. And he's like, dude, my friend was just killed in front of my eyes. And, like, 2 other people died. Like, can you leave me the fuck alone? And she's like, oh shit, I jumped to some very severe conclusions and I am so sorry. Here, would you like a salve? May I help heal you.
Yes, and this character is Leila, the healer girl, as they say. She is one of the palace, kind of like handmaids, they call each other sisters, of the Savior. Or is she?
Or is she? So immediately when there was like 3 women that popped up, I'm like, one of these bitches is the Savior. Because, number one, if I was having a tournament where my husband was going to be picked, you bet your ass I want to see these motherfuckers in their natural habitat so I know what I'm up against. But number 2, like, tropes. I just assumed one of these 3 girls, and I thought originally it was going to be like, ooh, which one is it? And we were going to have to piece it together. But it very quickly, based on how much time we are given with Leila, becomes very obvious that Leila might have more to her than meets the eyes.
Aww.
Number 1, because she immediately uses magic. Or no, I think it's maybe Delphi.
Well, the idea is that they can use these potions and salves and stuff, and they say, oh, this is the Savior's magic that she's gifting to us, right?
To use.
Yeah, and that's how she does their healing and stuff. And they keep coming up like every chapter and doing this.
So these ladies, it's Hippa, who is
Pippa. Yeah, who is mentally childlike. I don't know what the correct delayed.
I think they call her delayed at one point in the book. Very quickly, you realize Layla's probably the champion or the savior. Like, this is... And immediately, like, it leans in too hard. Like, she's described as very pretty. And then she keeps showing up. And she keeps interacting with Tobias. And what I wanted was for her to actually not be the savior. Like, I wanted Moreci to be like, haha, you thought she was the savior. Nope. She's just a girl.
No. That would create creativity, which is something that is in short supply in this book. So basically, the structure of the book from this point on is that there's a challenge, some of the competitors die, they get through it, Tobias talks to Leila, they kind of flirt in a really just cutesy manner or whatever. I did not find it compelling whatsoever, which we'll talk about more in a little bit. And they see the savior at the end of each contest. And this is how we are the savior with air quotes. And this is how we are introduced to what I like to call the evil titties. The savior is described as very voluptuous. Like, there's a point to where it's like, it really is like a weird side character that she carries around on her chest. But yes, so this is the savior, and she's really gorgeous, but also she's sort of weirdly vapid. And all of the men, when they first meet her, are entranced by her. But Tobias is like, what are they seeing? Who is she? They all can ask her one question, and he's like, what's your name? Or it's like, what do you like to do? Or something like really, and she's like, oh, I don't know.
It is what's your name?
Okay, I thought that was too dumb to be it.
No, that's literally it. He was like, none of these men have even asked her name. Now, granted, fair enough, but also, like, it's set up like this really, like, everybody's like, why would you ask her name? That's dumb. And I'm like, nah, I feel like if somebody did that, I'd be like, oh, you're right, I don't know her name either, but it's presented as this really, like, wow, ooh, impressive. And it's not. And so immediately when we met Casima's the titty savior.
Evil titty savior.
When you meet her, I immediately was like, okay, 100% this is not the savior. She's much too vapid. She's super boring. Confirmed. Suspicions confirmed. And so they meet the savior in the first thing. And then a while later, so they have a lot of violent challenges. And because really, it does become very cyclical. Challenge, get a reward.
This book is like 400 pages or something crazy.
No, it's 800.
Oh my god, did I really
pages.
Forget?
It's 800 pages.
It's so long and repetitive.
It should have been 350. Number 1, there was too many competitors and there was too many fucking challenges. And the challenges, there are challenges where they're like, stakes are high, someone's gonna fucking die. And then there are challenges where no one dies. There is a challenge where you have to do an act of service for the savior. And it's literally, you have to make her something or teach her something or do something for her.
Oh, the dumbest part of this book?
Oh, the dumbest part. We're getting there.
Okay, so as they're going through here, Tobias is finding himself weirdly drawn to the healer girl. And he's a little bit like, oh, I'm here for the savior. How can I be drawn to her? But also, this is not the crisis of faith it should be for someone from this society, where they are committing treason by being attracted to somebody else.
They have some violent challenges, and then they're like, okay, guys, you gotta make something. And Tobias is like, well, I'm an artist. I can do an art. And everybody's like, man, Tobias is gonna make great art. We're all gonna fucking suck. he's got this one in the bag. And so they give him, and now granted, this man hasn't drawn anything or done anything in like 2 years. So number one, you should be a little rusty. And he can't think of anything at all. Him and Leila, who have become friends at this point, him and Leila are like, she's like, well, close your eyes and think of something. And he thinks of something and he sees eyes. And he's like, that worked. And of course, you're like, they're Leila's eyes. And he starts drawing and he draws. He goes into a trance and he draws for like a couple of hours. And then when he comes to, it's Leila's face. And he's like, no, wrong person. Let's try this again. And for like 4 drawings in a row, he keeps fucking drawing Leila. And like the thing is, art is pain. It's not always painful, but the thing that I've learned from a lot of my friends who are visual artists is that it can number one, take a while. Number two, it is a craft you hone. Like, it's not like you work on it.
There is no way you would accidentally draw the same person 3 times by just letting your mind drift
4
off.
times.
Yeah, he does it so many times he runs out of canvas. It is the dumbest plot point in this book.
And out of time. He runs out of time. And
yes.
So the reason it was done like this was so that he wouldn't have anything to turn into the savior. And everybody's like, oh, how dare you? You had nothing for the savior. Like, you failed this challenge. Nobody was supposed to fail this challenge. It was supposed to be an unfailable challenge. Fuck you, Tobias. And it was literally designed so he'd fail this challenge. Like, it feels like there's a lot of things in this book that feel like they existed for the purpose of furthering plot. Like his family. As we mentioned, you might have noticed, but we don't mention them ever again. Because outside of, like, a couple times they show up, in the first, like, fourth of the book, he thinks about his family a lot. He's like, I'm here for my family. He's like, fuck the savior. I was never here for the savior. I came to get my family money. My family have this money. Now I'm just going to try survive. If I win, I win. Whatever. Which is, like, weird. Be a bit more motivated. But then once he starts, like, falling for Leila, and he's like, I've got to survive so I can be with Leila. His family ceased to exist. Milo existed to give him trauma. Because when Milo dies, his grief over Milo becomes a huge trauma point for him, and, like, that's it. That was Milo's purpose. Congratulations, trauma. And him doing this dumb art, and having nothing to give the savior, and it's not even like at the last minute he's able to just sketch something. Like, at this point, stop trying to draw her face. Draw something else, like a flower, the fields you worked in, something. Like, you telling me you...
I didn't think of that, but that makes so much sense.
That's what I thought. I was like, stop trying to draw faces, buddy. This isn't working. Draw anything. Have you seen nothing in your life? What are we doing? So dumb.
That's the thing about Tobias as a character, is he really exists just to simp for Leila. Like, everything about him in this book is geared towards, I'm here to be about Leila, and it's so annoying towards the end. I mean, it makes him a weak character throughout, but in the second half of the book, it's so annoying how often he thinks of her and how little he thinks of his mother and sister.
Yes.
There's a great... So... We'll get there. But there could have been a much better conflict with his mother and sister versus Leila. And we'll get into that more, but go ahead.
He fails the challenge because he had nothing to give the savior. And Leila's like... Because also, I forgot to say this. Anytime they're in front of the savior, Leila and Pippa and Delphi are sitting next to her or behind her. So I'm like... She's the fucking savior. Like, stop, guys. She's a fucking savior. I know. We all know. Can we stop this charade? But anyway, so Leila's looking at him like, the fuck, I left you drawing. Why the fuck do you have nothing? And so then there's the proctor, who's this grumpy guy who proctors the tournament. Anyway, so he proctors, and the proctor's like, no one is supposed to fail this tournament or this challenge, but Tobias did, so we're gonna have a battle to the death. And behind all of this stuff with Leila and everything happening, Tobias makes friends. So like I said, he's real quiet. His personality at the start of the book is tired piece of toast. Then he becomes sad, tired piece of toast. And then there's this scene where he saves, there's this guy named the Prince. That's his Laurel. He's not even an actual prince. Like, it's a dumb Laurel. So the Prince... and I think Kaleo, somebody, like, hurts the prince. He's gonna die.
Beast.
Yeah, a different beast. Hurts the prince. He's gonna die. But Tobias saves him and brings him into the sanctuary, and he's able to get healed. And he says, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. You're really quiet and surly and, unpleasant to be around. but we're going to be friends. And Tobias is like, fuck you, nobody's friends in this tournament. Who would want friends? Fuck you. And he's like, don't worry, I'll prove that I'm your friend. And then during the next challenge, which is they poison the guys with wine, and they then have to make the antidote for the wine, which while they're drinking the wine and getting drunk and poisoned, a man is giving them a chemistry lesson, telling them about all the ingredients. And they're not taking notes. They're not told why they're viewing this thing, why they're not immediately paying attention and aware that this tournament is fucked up, and thus if they're being shown something, they should pay attention. I don't fucking know. And during this part, Flynn, Prince Guy, actively tries to help Tobias and saves him. And so Tobias is like, yeah, okay, we can be friends, I guess. And then Flynn's like, meet my crew! We've got the intellectual. We've got Xander, the hunter, who's Orion. Enzo, who's...
Italian.
This Italian guy. Xander and Enzo are gay. We find that out later. And then, like, a couple of other people on the team, and they're like, this is your posse now. We're a team. So then this is where it hits, like, Survivor levels, where, like, they create factions, and it's like, we're all friends until it's just us left, and then we're going to have to kill each other, guys.
Which is weird, because I don't understand why they don't just kill each other now. It's not like they need each other to get through these challenges.
Exactly. So right after this is when painting thing happens, and then they're like, the proctor's like, who's the least worthy to be here? And he's like, Tobias, since you failed, we'll ask you first. And Tobias is like, Antaeus, because he talks shit about the savior. He has hurt a lot of people, and he assaults the ladies in waiting. Fuck that guy. Which, like, good job. Good answer, Tobias, since you literally just failed the easiest challenge ever that not even one of the beasts failed. Like, how the fuck did you... Okay, we'll let it go. And so then Antaeus goes next, and he's like, Tobias, because he couldn't even do this one thing for the fucking savior, and he sucks. And then, like, 8 people are like, fuck Tobias, he doesn't deserve to be here. And then Tobias's entire new posse is like, Tobias deserves to be here, fuck Antaeus. And the first one is, I think, Orion, who says the nice things. Mm-hmm. It might have been Enzo, but I think it was Orion. Orion's the hunter. So, they're like, okay, since Antaeus and Tobias were the only names picked, they're going to fight to the death. And since Tobias got more votes against him, Antaeus gets some advantages. And everybody's like, he's already a fucking giant, and he battles, and he's a mercenary. That's enough advantages. But oh well, that's what's going to happen. So then Tobias leaves, and he is really worried, not necessarily that he's going to be killed, but Leila is really fucking mad at him. And he's like, oh no, Leila's mad at me. What am I going to do? Like, and she ends up summoning him, and she has the paintings, the drawings, charcoal drawings of herself, because Delphi found them in the trash and was like, yo girl, look at these. This guy loves you. And she's like, wow, they're so beautiful. Look at this, Tobias. Look why? Like, and immediately she's like, I'm gonna help you. And at this point, I'm like, she's the savior. Like, 100 point bajillion to the fact that this girl's the savior. Because she starts doing shit that, like, if she was just a regular old healer, she'd probably be killed. Oh,
you mean how she knows how to sword fight for some reason?
But not just that, like, any regular old handmaiden would be killed for this if they got caught. Like, you only have the balls to do this if you know that the odds of you getting killed for it are pretty low. But anyway, so she decides she's going to train Tobias in a night. They have a night. The tournament's, the battle's the next day. And they reason their way through, like, the big guy is going to pick the biggest weapon because the crowd's going to love it. And he is going to get to pick Tobias's weapon, which is going to be the shitty little sword, the short sword. And so he trains with Flynn and Leila, but where Leila sits on Flynn's shoulders. And that's how they teach him how to fight for a day.
In the night.
So the next day, tournament's happening. Leila's giving him a pep talk. And she's like, listen, buddy, you're going to go out here. You don't want to kill that guy, but you're going to do it. You're going to make the hard choices. We're going to do the thing. And she looks at him and she's like, oh, fuck, this dude's going to die. So she takes something out of her satchel and it's clay. And she's like, this is clay blessed by
No. You are skipping the best part of this book.
Yeah, you're right. So Tobias uses this moment to confess his love to Leila.
Right. Okay. Okay. Everyone brings their own reading experience, right? As a reader, their own experience to the book and their own perspective. And I understand that I am Hispanic. Family is important to Hispanic people. I have a mother and 2 sisters. And so, my family is very important to me. So maybe I'm biased here. So let me get your opinion, my fine co-host.
I shall do my best.
If you were about to die,
yes,
would you be thinking of the person that you met a week ago who's kind of hot, or would you be thinking about your family?
My family.
Interesting. Well, Tobias is not that guy. Tobias thinks about his family for like a sentence or two, and then it just declares his love to Leila about how he's so happy he got to meet her, and even if he dies here, she's been the best part of the tournament. I hated this moment so much because it is so much Tobias only existing to simp for her. He is not a character. He is not a real person. And more than that, it would have endeared me so much more if he had cared about his family and he had cared for them. And it's not there.
It's very unfortunate because it super is not. He literally, this is a romantic moment. This is the moment where he confesses the burgeoning feelings that he's had for Leila, and he's been trying to hide for Leila, and now he's like, nah, I'm gonna die. Literally, I'm about to die. I shall confess my love. He doesn't use the word love, but he's like, I like you, you're amazing. And in this moment, Leila's like, God damn it, I can't let him die. So she smears, she takes the clay, she rubs it on his chest, and she's like, this clay's been blessed by the Savior. It'll give you the ability to walk in the shadows. And he's like, what? And she was like, just look at a spot and want to be there, and you'll be there. So he enters the arena. Antaeus picks exactly the staff they thought he would, gives the short sword to Tobias, and it starts off pretty much as you would expect. We're like, Antaeus, this battle-hardened,
who's massive and has trained to fight
for his entire life, is doing the good, like fighting the good fight, doing the things. And Tobias accidents his way into realizing what his ability is. And there's also mirrors everywhere. I should say that there's mirrors. And the thing is, this particular power, the ability to take a step and be somewhere else, would be incredibly disorienting. I feel like to go from point A to point B, to how fast are you going? Do you gauge? Like, do you come out of it running? Do you come out of it walking? Is there a second of getting used to it? But he takes something that if this was an anime would have taken him several filler episodes to master, and he just owns it. And not just that, this is the scene where I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Because again, prior to this, tired piece of toast, sad tired piece of toast, falling in love, sad tired piece of toast. And then all of a sudden, he starts hitting us with these quips. He starts fucking with Antaeus' head, and he's quippy. He's the jester. Out of nowhere. Where did you get these sassy one-liners, Tobias? Where has this been hiding? Like, this isn't the character we have grown to know the past third of the book. What the fuck are you doing? And he's like, it's just all in your head, buddy. Am I here? Am I here? And I'm like, what is this? Like, oh, now I'm here. And now I'm here. And like, I liked the idea of this battle, but again, Tobias talked a lot throughout it, which number one made him very uncool in my opinion. But also it was just, I didn't believe that he would get this power and be that adept at using it that quickly. I thought it would have been a much better thing if like she could make his skin really hard.
Well, she does later, if you know what I mean. But we'll talk about the incredibly juvenile sex scenes later. Or even if like the night before she was like, you're not going to beat him in a fight, we're going to teach you how to do the shadow thing over a night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that might have made more sense.
Oh, I would have preferred that so much more, because then all you have to do is appear behind him and stab him in the back.
Exactly. Done. Like you would have been like, okay, that's a cool matchup of powers and interesting things. This is going to start, by the way, a trend of Tobias somehow becoming able to go mano a mano, bare-fisted against the beasts in fights all the time, and you're like, where did you learn to fight? When did you get so physically strong? Like, how are you an MMA fighter now?
Because like Tobias is obviously, he's a field laborer. He's got like, I'd say he'd be wiry kind of strong. You know, like, this guy ain't built, but he's not an actual artist. And I think that's why she did that, because she was like, I want this guy to be an artist, but I need him to be like semi-strong. And she was like, I'll make him a former artist who now works in the fields. Like, he manages to win. And again, I think what Will said would have been way better. Like, fuck trying to teach you how to fight. You're going to do the shadow walk thing, and then I need you to stab this guy in the kidney from behind. And also, she could have, if somebody had coached him, like if Flynn had been like, listen, buddy, because Flynn helps with all this, you got to work the crowd. Like, make fun of him, like, egg him on. Because Leila says, like, use your intellect, use the terrain to your benefit, like, get him to be sloppy. But, like, again, at no point have we seen Tobias talk like this before or interact like this. But had it been set up in that night before, I think it could have helped, and it was dumb. He
I
wins.
think you don't understand the genius of her writing and how you can take something that makes no sense and make it a pivotal moment of life or death.
Yes, and there's a huge problem in this where the magic system, Leila, she's the only one with magic, really, has no rhyme or reason, and not in the beautiful, ethereal.
Oh, it's not mystical. It's not
It's not
strange. It's
soft
not
magic.
eldritch or a
Yeah,
liminal place.
it's plot device magic.
Right. So she can teleport, but you can only teleport someplace you've seen for some reason. That's like it becomes a thing later that you're like, that's a very random rule, but okay.
There are no windows. You know the part where they're like, she's like, I can only go someplace I've seen. You can't. You've never seen outside the. Anyway, we'll get there.
No. Actually, she has. Remember, there's a scene where they look outside the castle at a faraway hill.
Yep.
And like, apparently, that's not enough scene to have. It's again plot relevant magic, not a very interesting magic system, or not doesn't feel mystical or interesting. It's just
At all, and it should have, because the Savior's powers could have been built up as this truly, like, even she doesn't fully understand what she's capable of, what she does, and that could have been cool. But again, it just, and I saw a lot of reviewers commenting on this as well, that the magic just felt perfunctory and, like, again, a plot device thing. And you first start seeing it here because this is the first time it really gets used, but Tobias gets known as the blessed one. He's been given the Savior's blessing, where, like,
because the X on him starts to glow, because the Savior's whole thing is she glows in the sun. It glows, and so everyone knows that, oh, he was the blessed one, and also the crowd starts to love him because he's one of them, and also he goes and says hi to his mom and sister, but also he didn't give a shit about them when he was about to die. So why exactly is this supposed to endear us to him?
So they do this, super lame, but he survives, and now, like, everybody's like, oh, this man actually killed a guy. Okay, and there's more challenges, and I can't even remember, like, I don't know if you've noticed, guys, but I'm pretty good at remembering what happens in the fucking books. I can't remember all the challenges, and there was a moment where because I normally prep a lot for these, where I write down things I specifically want to talk about, or points, or, like, phrases that I think of that I'd like to use, and I thought to myself, you should write down some of the shit that happened so you remember, because so much happens unnecessarily.
I've read this book twice and I don't remember all of the challenges because there's just too many.
Yeah.
There really are. The first half of the book is too many challenges, and the second half of the book is too many scenes of Leila and Tobias being cute, and I'm putting cute in significant air quotes for those of you who can't see, because they're not cute. This is actually a good time. Oh, so, okay, this is a good way of going into it. One of the revelations that Leila makes at this point to Tobias, because now they've come out of the maze and Tobias and the other champions are hanging out in the palace.
You're
God,
too
really?
quick. Yeah. Because we're missing the point where he starts throwing. He realizes Leila's helped save him. She obviously likes him a bit too. And there's a challenge where they have to recite a poem on the spot to the Savior, expressing their feelings for her. And he's like, oh shit, I have to give a poem. And he's like, how on earth am I going to give a poem? And he's like, I'll just think of Leila. Okay. And so he's like, I don't know if this will actually be a poem. And it's not. It's just heartfelt words. Like, this man, he was an artist, but he did not take any poetry course. Like, his education was very single. It's not a poem. He basically is like, you're great, you fascinate me, you're like, because he says something about Leila being an acquired taste because she's bitter at first, but then, like, you learn to love it. And he's like, you're not just an acquired taste, you're blah, blah, blah. And so it becomes very apparent that it's for Leila. Leila knows it's for Leila. Delphi knows it's for Leila. The Savior Cosima picks him as the winner of the thing. And that means he gets to have, because one of the prizes you get if you win rounds is alone time with the Savior. And so he has alone time with her, and right before this, like, when he won, Leila got really fucking pissed at him and yelled at him and got, like, really, like jealous. And so he was like, fine. And so he goes to see the Savior, and she's like flirting, and he's like, no, I can't. I really just want to see Leila and da 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 da. And so he's really awkward. He doesn't know how to handle this gracefully. Leila gets pissed at him. He sees the savior, and then he ends up talking to Delphi, and Delphi's like, listen, she's had a lot of mean men in her life. She easily is spooked. You gotta show her that you really care. And then she basically tells him, she pretends like she's not helping him, but then she's like, oh, you know, whoever doesn't win tomorrow, they don't get to spend time with the savior, because everybody else would get time to spend with the savior, so they'd be in camp all by themselves. It would suck if they got hurt and they had to spend the whole time in the healer's tent. So he throws a match, and it's a, like, intelligence. This is one of the only things where you need intelligence to get it. It's a riddle / memory game. He throws it, he gets his fingers smushed, and Layla's like, that was dumb. You play this game all the time. How did you lose? And then she realizes he threw it to spend time with her. And then she forgives him and everything is good. But now they're in the will they, won't they of, are they going to cross this boundary? Like,
this taboo.
They obviously like each other. They confess that they both like each other, but they're like, will they, won't they? But it's not like you as the reader are like, will they, won't. They literally go, are we going to do this? Like, it's a choice. We have to think about it.
Because he's in here for the savior. Are they willing to betray that? And this is a good time to point out that they have no chemistry together. Look, here's the deal, guys. I love a good romance. I have a Y chromosome, and I am not afraid to admit that. But you have to have actual chemistry between the characters, and there needs to be something vital and interesting about how they relate to each other. This book kind of tries to do that, and it kind of keeps trying to be like, oh, you know, they're both kind of alone, and nobody sees them for who they are, really. But really what it is that all of the guys around Tobias are super sexist frat boys. This is like, it's actually a little bizarre how sexist they are, and some people have mentioned it to the author, and she's like, have you ever met guys that are like this? And as a man, I would like to say, no. this is not my parlance. This is not my language. I don't like, it's annoying. So he's basically like the one decent guy, and she's like the one girl in the maze. So like there's really very little choice in it.
He's very not like other guys. If you will accept that nomenclature. So they really don't. And the thing is, the voice actor does a lot here, because it took me a while.
Oh my god. I read the book and then listened to the audiobook this time. He adds so much personality. All the characters, but especially Tobias.
Oh my god, so much. So initially I didn't see this, but I was thinking about it afterwards, and I was like, why do they like each other? Like, and then there's all the reasons said on the page, but I didn't buy it. And it just feels...
You don't feel it.
You don't feel it. And it's like, it's
Cora and Ampersand had so much more chemistry.
Oh my god. So
that's right. 20-year-old girl and Mantis Velociraptor Rooster Alien had so much more sexual chemistry than these two.
But it's
all
because
right?
Alice knows what a slow burn is, and this isn't a slow burn. Like, week 2, I also want you to know, I just realized we're 59. We're an hour into recording this, and we're just hitting like the halfway point of the fucking book. And guys, I could cry. Like, I hate that this is how far we've gotten. Now, granted, we've gotten derailed a lot, but this book is just long as fuck.
We only have a couple of big plot points to cover, because a lot of the second half of the book is literally just Tobias and Leila running off in the castle to be like, oh, aren't we cute? Here, let me touch this part of you. Let me touch this part of you. Oh, her boobs. Oh, pillowy lips, which is a description that no one should ever use. I hate it.
Terrible.
It's not Botox. Stop.
They decide eventually that they're gonna do this thing, but as they make that decision, they end the part of the tournament that's in the underground tunnel, and they get to go above ground. Once they get into the castle, I was hoping we'd get some like political intrigue, because significantly less challenges happen while they're in like the last third in the castle. Like, it's mainly just talking, and like he gets a massage, some girls wash his dick like in a bathhouse setting, and it's just like this weird, it was very boring. I thought in the castle, like, I thought that this should have been the most exciting part of the book, but it was very boring.
Well, here's the thing. Clearly you weren't paying attention. There is politics going on, because it's just not in this book. So Leila reveals to Tobias that Brontes wants her dead, and he has a bunch of senators who are on his side, right? And she has been slowly murdering all of them.
And they know who's doing it.
And Tobias is totally chill with this. He's literally, I think, almost word for word, like, well, you probably had a good reason and I trust you. Why the fuck does he trust this rando chick? Like,
who obviously isn't telling him the truth, because why would
Yes.
you, as the palace healer, have any reason to be doing any of that? So it's weird, and they argue a lot. This starts the part of the series. So you know how in like romance plots there's the like will they won't they, then once they actually start getting together they start fighting all the time until they get over it. Like it's the book 1, book 2, book 3 arc. Book 1 is them getting together, book 3 or book 2 is them fighting, separating, and then they come back stronger, and then book 3. So this is that, like, in book 1, the book 1 and 2 plot line all in one book, because they fight, and there's this point where he's like, you're lying to me. I know you're lying to me. Why are you lying to me? Fuck you. And she's like, I just haven't been able to tell you, and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I'll tell you. No, I'll tell you. And he's like, no, fuck you. I don't want to know now. I don't want to know. Shut up. And she's like, no, I'll tell you. And then she gets pissed off, and she's like, fine, you don't want me to tell you? I won't fucking tell you. Fuck you, Tobias. We're done. And Tobias is instantly like, oh man, no, I'm so, like, not even like the next day or a couple of hours later. Instantly like, no, I'm so sorry, Leila. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said anything. Like, shut my whore mouth. Like, I'm so sorry. Forgive me. I didn't know. And Leila's like, nah, fuck you. So she leaves, and he's like, this is it. Like, he starts drinking again. Casima's like, hey, baby. He ends up winning a challenge where he gets to spend alone time in Casima's room, and then, like, he leaves in the middle because she tries, like, getting handsy with him, and he's like, no, I want Leila. And so, like, he goes over to where Leila is. He finds her. I don't know.
One thing we haven't mentioned is that he now Brontes is taking a more active role in the tournament once they're in the palace, and Brontes is the savior's father, and he does not like Tobias at all.
He hates Tobias.
He loves the beasts and hates Tobias, and like he's given him the stink eye, and I mean eye, not eyes, because he only has one. His moniker being the Cyclops. Isn't that clever? Yes, they get into a dumb fight, and then they make up from the fight. This is the point, by the way, where Bronte starts literally telling the beasts, hey, go kill Tobias in the next challenge, and Tobias survives like 3 of these, one of which is literally a hand-to-hand bare knuckle fisted fight between him and like 3 of the beasts, and he wins or doesn't die. It's really odd.
It's really odd. Plot armor is very thick in this book.
Yes. That's the thing, is some of the guys get to leave every once in a while and some don't, and you don't know about this till later. Again, why Tobias doesn't understand the rules of an event that decides the monarch of their nation and is the single biggest cultural event of their entire nation and happens
like every generation.
Yeah, why he doesn't know some of these rules is really odd, especially considering he's supposed to be educated, but okay.
And nobody seems to know these rules. Like, the intellect does, because the intellect decided to study it, but it shouldn't just be the smart guy that knows these rules.
It's so weird.
And there's also this thing, because, like, Leila's the savior, guys. We're gonna get there, but surprise! I know you didn't see it coming, but Leila's the savior. And there's this part where the intellect gets hurt, and Tobias is like, we need to heal him now. You gotta let him now. And there's a force field that's keeping Leila from being able to heal him. And, it's the keys challenge. And Leila's like, I need to heal him. Let it down. Call the challenge. And he's like, the proctor's like, no. Only the savior gets to command me. And in my head, I'm like, how? Even in this, because, like, you find out, surprise, that they decide to have Casima be the savior so that it protects, because Leila knows that her father's trying to kill her and knows that he probably is getting contestants to kill her.
It also revealed her father killed her mother, and also the 3 beasts, he got to enter the tournament so they could kill Leila once they were married and they had won. I want to point out for a moment how stupid this plotline is, and how stupid it is that her father is randomly homicidal or daughtercidal, whatever the thing is, because the savior is the only one with this magic. It's not like if Leila dies, the magic goes to the sovereign. That's it. It's gone. It makes no sense that he wouldn't try to control his daughter instead of just off her. Like, and it's so weird because that's such a more interesting relationship of abuse, of you using a child and that kind of hate and love at the same time.
It should have been a Mother Gothel situation.
Yes, exactly.
It should have been like
down
Tangled.
To the glowing.
And you shouldn't, like, Leila shouldn't know her dad's evil. Like, it should have been something that Tobias figured out and then was like, Leila, he's using you. But no, he is just classic mustache-whirling, one-eyed monocle man.
That would have been a good plot twist, you're right, to have Tobias be the one to kind of figure it out and then reveal it. And that's a good reason for them to actually kind of break up and then get back together. But that would have taken revealing that she is the savior before pretty much the exact last page, which is not something the author is down for, thank you very much.
So there was several points that I thought it could have been a fun plot development for her to be revealed as a savior and for her not to have told him. But, like, I thought once they entered the castle, the charade should have ended, and it should have been, because, like, you got all the castle servants to pretend that this other bitch was the savior?
It makes Tobias look really dumb when he doesn't pick up on some of this stuff. Like, Tobias should have realized some of this stuff a long time ago. Like, right down to, like, at one point they were making out the day before, and then the next day they have a fight, and he has a bunch of handprints glowing all over him. And he's like, oh, maybe she had some of the medicine on her hands.
I wonder when this happened. But also, it just, like, it became so obvious that, like, I couldn't understand what the point of holding it, because obviously it's no longer going to be, like, mic drop moment, so using it as a plot device to cause tension for him to be like, why didn't you tell me? You should have told me. Like, I could have been working, like, I've been throwing fucking challenges when I should have been fighting for it.
It makes, no, I'm sure, okay, fans, I hear you saying it's explained in the next book from Leila's point of view. I don't give a shit. It's book standalone. I don't want to have to read a encyclopedia or other work to understand it.
I don't care what they say in that book. How the fuck did you get the entire castle to play along and nobody slipped up? You're telling me not one drunk servant was like, actually, that one's the savior. Like, no one? You got the entire castle to play along. That is fucking insane. And just not believable. And it was just such a dumb plot device thing. Yeah, so then we're gonna go pretty fast.
I mean, I think basically there's a bunch of dumb shit that happens.
so much dumb.
But basically what it comes down to is Brontes is basically like, he captures Tobias, has him, like in that scene in Gladiator, they weaken him before the fight but put armor on so nobody can see, or like it looks like, I don't know, he hides it somehow.
It's during the torture scene. They don't hide it. It becomes very obvious the minute he walks out. They want Kaleo to capture Leila, but Tobias is in Leila's bed, because they got into that big fight, and then they made up, and Tobias is literally, because she's like, I need to tell you everything now, and he's like, you know what, I honestly don't care, as long as we get to be together in the end, I don't care what it is you have to tell me. Remember this, guys, it's gonna come back later. Like, I don't care what it is. And eventually he stalls her so long, Delphi comes and is like, the package has arrived. Caw, we must go. And she's like, I have to go right now, but I'll be back. You stay here. Kaleo comes. Tobias hides under the bed. Kaleo captures him. And then they go, and Brontes is like, why? What? And he was like, I couldn't find Leila, but I found this guy, so he'll do instead. And he was like, yeah, I guess so. Let's fuck him up so he dies during the culmination. And the culmination is where the final three get to battle it out, battle royale style. And first they have to do like a maze, a hedge maze.
Oh, right. That's how they think he's gonna, that's where they pretend they're damaged.
And they beat him up pretty good. And meanwhile, it's during the scene where Kaleo's like, can I fuck him? Let me fuck him bloody. And you're like, ugh, ew, why? And then there's a later part where he's like, I'll fuck Leila before I kill her. And I'm like, oh, this is just a sexual deviant.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable. I don't know why that's the route you decide to go.
Again, the author really likes Kaleo. Kaleo. She really does like him. Like, she gives him all these funny lines to say and stuff. And like, it bothers me because I hate when authors do that thing where they're like, oh, he's a bad character, but isn't he so much fun to write? No, he's just a shitty character.
Yes.
Anyway, in the Battle Royale, it's Tobias, Kaleo, and Flynn.
Who has also decided to become a dick. Like, yes. Pretty much, Flynn goes from being like a decent character to a dick, all because he's in love with the savior, Cosima, and originally it's because Tobias gets to hang out with the savior and he's pissed. And then he finds out Tobias is actually not in love with the savior, and then he's fucking pissed and makes him end things with Leila. That's why him and Leila get into that fight. But it's just like out of nowhere. And it was weird because like, why did we spend all that time developing this friendship with Flynn, which was much more established and better described than his friendship with Milo?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It was weird. And it felt like you suddenly decided the plot needed this guy to be a dick. So we started writing him as a dick. So yeah, he goes in, he does the maze. He manages to survive the maze, even though he's really fucked up. They have the culmination, and somehow he kills Kaleo.
Yes, he kills Kaleo, and he starts feeling power surging through him, which I guess is like the Savior's power or something.
It's weird because she's really inconsistent, because he'll talk about his emotions and anger flaring up inside him like flames, but then other times it's the power, like the actual power inside him like flames, and I'm like, are we feeling emotions or is this actual power? And did we suddenly, because I couldn't understand in this final thing what his power was, like what benefit the Savior had given him. Did it make him fight good? Did it make him stronger? Did it make him...
It's, again, plot relevant magic.
Because like I couldn't understand, like he suddenly starts glowing, there's handprints all over him because Leila and him were getting frisky, so there's some around, the down there, this downstairs mix up. But how did we get that? And like, or what is the power? How is it helping him? He has it, but it was never clear to me in that entire fight. And readers, please let me know what it is if you know, because I genuinely do not know what it did besides just make him win. Anyway, so he defeats Kaleo, who is like, oh, what a plot twist.
By the way, that's literally the voice. Like, I usually mock your voices. That's literally the voice actor uses in the audiobook, is like this weird fancy man voice.
Yeah, it is. It's a fancy man. It's what the voices one of the nobles should have had. It is not the voice this guy should have had. But anyway, and he's like, well, if I'm going to die, I guess my last words. And then Tobias, who suddenly can fight with 2 swords. So not only is he super scarred up,
right,
very beat up, lots of things, he's able to fight with 2 swords. And like, I don't know if you know this, guys, but that's hard. That's not easy. That's not something you immediately learn how to do.
Again, he gains all this fighting ability from nowhere at all. And it's okay. And then he lets Flynn live. Leila shows up.
No. He lets Flynn live, and he's like, but I am not the Savior. I'm not gonna win. I don't want to win, because it's still, at this point, he hasn't figured out that Leila's a fucking champion and that winning means he gets to be with her. So he's like, Flynn is your champion and I'm just gonna survive. And Flynn's like, okay, straight. Thanks, dude. And then the Sovereign is like, no, kill him. And then Flynn's like, oh, I gotta kill you now, buddy. Fuck you. You didn't actually love her. And so he goes to kill her. And then Leila shows up and she's like, unsheaths herself, and she's like, no, stop, because your Savior commands. Because at first everybody's like, fuck you, Tobias, like you blasphemer, because he's like, I'm in love with someone else, and they're like, fuck you. And Leila shows up, saves him, he passes out because her divine light power is so great. He wakes up in Leila's bed, and then they get into another fight, because he gets pissed off that she's been the Savior this whole time. And he's like, all this time, all these men died for you! And I'm just sitting here thinking about that entire discussion they had, where he's like, you know what, as long as we get to be together in the end, I don't care about what happens. And he's being such a dick. And they somehow get over it, and then Delphi comes and is like, you gotta go, guys. And they decide to make an escape out of the palace, and at first, Tobias is the only one that's gonna go, and then he's like, no, Leila, you come with me. And Delphi's like, yeah, no, you should actually leave. Like, just go on, get out. And she's like, I can't shadow walk to places I've never been before. And Tobias is like, don't worry, I'll do it. And then Delphi's like, tee-hee-hee, I already had 2 horses ready. I knew. The book ends because when they go to his family, because she's like, we're going to go on this adventure. We'll go to the woods. And he's like, before we do, we have one stop to make. And I'm like, oh, finally, we're going to remember he has a family.
Oh, the funny thing is you're misremembering this, because she's the one that says we have one stop to do.
Oh, you're right. It was.
He still don't give a shit about his mom and sister.
Holy shit. It wasn't even Tobias. It was, oh, man. Fuck, you're right.
He don't care none.
He don't care none. He's like, I now must save you. And he literally tells her, like, I love you forever, let's get married. They've known each other exactly 30 days, guys.
Yeah, it's dumb. And again, this book spends way too much time on their relationship. Like, a lot of the book is devoted to their relationship, and it's not good. So that's basically the end of the book, right? And
again, they go to his family.
Right, they go to his family, and Leila starts healing his sister, and that's it. Instead of going on in the next book, we're not going to see what happens next. We're going to go back and replay the whole thing from Leila's point of view.
I can't do it. We joked about how I didn't want to read the Dune sequels, and then literally in that video, we're like, fuck it, we'll read the Dune sequels. No, I will not do it. This book...
Oh, I'm going to get you to do it.
Oh, God, this book was... And the very idea that I have to relive the same plot but from Leila's perspective makes me want to murder someone. It's really like I don't know if I'm strong enough, and I think this might be the cross I die on.
What's hilarious is I wanted to torment you with this book, but then I realized it backfired because I had to read it again, and that was awful all over again.
Oh, the sequel's bigger, longer.
Really?
Yes.
How?
Yes. Yes.
Oh my
yes,
God.
Yes. This was already way fucking too long, and
I want to say one thing. I think there is a shadow of a good book here in some of the ideas. I think that if Leila really wasn't the champion and it really was a conflict between should I stay in the tournament for my family, for my mother and my sister, and stay alive for them, or do I not care and I just want to YOLO with Leila? I think that's an interesting conflict. It's not in the book because again, he doesn't care about his family. He exists solely to simp for Leila. We didn't even cover how awkward a lot of the scenes of intimacy are in this book because they're written like they're from a middle schooler. They're really just poor.
It's very tropey.
It's so tropey.
I lied. It's
good.
700. The book's 700 pages. Not.
Oh, so it is shorter. So we should definitely do it.
No. This book is Savior's Champion is 671 pages. And then the second one, I will tell you how much the second one is.
Well, while you're doing that, I think also there are some interesting ideas in terms of the world.
It's 6 pages longer.
I think there are some interesting ideas in the world, none of which are explored by the story. Again, the fact that Leila is so set against the Saviors contest tournament is weird because she shouldn't be, considering she grew up in the... Like, Leila is a fully formed, normal woman, even though she's grown up controlled by her father, and in like it makes no sense that someone that sheltered would have a normal point of view about things if she's never left the castle. Like she really would think like, oh, actually this process is necessary. Yes, it's bloody, but it's necessary to get the best sovereign for the job. Something like that, much in the same way Tobias would kind of actually feel the same way, that this is a way of culling out the weak and getting the best person, because that is the culture he grew up in. It's kind of a lot like Iron Widow, where it's like we're just dropping modern day characters into settings where it doesn't make sense. And I think if she hadn't been the savior, it would have been a little bit more interesting. I don't think this is a good book. Yeah, I read it 3 years ago or whenever it came out, and I'm glad that I made you suffer through it.
So here's my thoughts. This world is a blank canvas. Apparently, when I was reading reviews, a lot of people said that Moreci doesn't like descriptions, and you can tell because she describes nothing. I can't tell you. I couldn't picture what this world looked like, so I auto-filled with like fantasy setting, fantasy clothes, because she doesn't describe. Are people wearing corsets? Are they draped gowns? Are these toga-esque? Are they like actual dresses? Like, what are we doing here? What is this world? What does the architecture look like? It's completely devoid of any life. What is the agricultural system like? What is there? Like, is there a university? Where do these intellectuals come? Did the intellectual come from the university? And there's just nothing. This world is a blank fucking canvas. Also, if Brontes killed Mom and was okay killing the Savior, and he wanted to kill her before she gave birth, why the fuck did he not kill her as a baby?
Wouldn't that have just been too suspicious?
No.
I think that's the excuse they use. One thing I love, by the way, is you know how you said Jenna Moreci is self-described as not very interested in... Specifically, I believe, because I used to hang out in her community a little bit, she said that she's one of those people who isn't really good at description, but really good at dialogue. Now, one last question before you leave, Maria. Would you say that the dialogue in this book is really good?
No.
Interesting.
The world is blank. The characters' motivations make no sense. Why didn't the evil guys that Brontes hired to kill her just kill everyone immediately? Why was there this farce of a tournament? Why didn't he kill Leila when she was a kid? Apparently in the second book it gets explained that there's another character who convinced him not to do it. But like,
that's not in this book?
Number one, it's not in this book, but what explanation could they have given you to let her become powerful enough to learn how to use her powers and become an actual fucking threat? You know, like, it's the ideas, the reasoning behind this world just makes no sense, and it makes it really hard as a reader to take any of it seriously. There are very few things that I find... Jenna wrote the book she wanted to write, and it might be just not for me, because this definitely felt... It should have been targeted as, like, a fantasy romance, and not, like, a fantasy novel, because it doesn't feel like a fantasy novel. It feels like a bloody romance. But I don't know. I'm tired.
I can't believe we went this long. I don't know what I'm going to end up cutting this down to,
Oh
but we're
God.
looking at about an hour 40 right now.
This might
in
be our
recording.
longest one. It's really like, and guys, there's more. Like, I have so much more I could talk about, but I'm tired. It's 10:30 p.m. I don't want to read the second one. If we get to like 100,000 subscribers.
If you want to see us tackle the second book, leave us a like and a comment on YouTube or Spotify or the platform of your choice. If we get to 10,000 likes, I will force Maria to read The Savior's Sister. Until then, though, good luck and good night.
Good night, guys.